do I care that his guys are being shot at, or do I only worry about my guys? And of course, I care about his guys. We are a partner in this to defeat Al-Qaeda and the Taliban. So the split decision was made. Where are they? We're going to reinforce this, and we're going to support you in this fight. And here's how we're going to do it.
Welcome back, everybody, to Visionary Leader Podcast with Jim Robinson. I am Lori Prust, and we have an amazing guest today, Perry Blackburn. Welcome to Visionary Leader. Super happy to have you today.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
So let me take a little time just to talk about Perry. So this was so fun to read about you. So this is what I have, and you can tell me, what am I missing? Any good nuggets we should know about that I didn't cover? But you were a Green Beret combat diver.
That is true.
You were in the invasion force in Afghanistan and Iraq and served multiple tours in both areas. As a Green Beret, you were one of the first Americans on the ground in Afghanistan after 9/11. You were one of the famed horse soldiers who rode into the country on horseback as featured in the film 12 Strong. After you retired, it kept going. All the goodness kept going. You took your Arabic language skills to the United Arab Emirates and trained the Emirates to defeat Yemen insurgents. And you are the CEO and founder of AFG Free, a nonprofit organization that feeds, shelters, and evacuates American citizens, allies, and partners in Afghanistan after the U.S. withdrew in 2021.
Yes, you covered it pretty well. That was, that's kind of the latter part of my career in 2001, and I'm certainly not the only guy that rode on a horse in Afghanistan, as featured by Hollywood. I mean, it's a little Hollywoodish. I never, ever attacked a tank on horseback. Just let's throw that out there right now. Now, 595 might have, but no, I didn't. I did commandeer a tank, though, from the Taliban and use it for my own defense. But it was quite a remarkable journey after 9/11 for all of us. Not just me, not just the soldiers, but our families, and certainly for the civilians that were back home watching, and the support that we got was incredible. Incredible.
So love that you're here. So thank you so much. And with some of the different environments you've led in, I can't even imagine them. And then how you're serving today in your nonprofit. One of the things we're going to talk about today is really how leaders tend to potentially at times not listen very well. And so I can only imagine in the environments that you've been in where you might have struggled with the balance of listening versus taking action.
Yeah, so that's an interesting point. So I believe that when you're in a high stress environment or you're a high stress situation, no matter whether you're in business or you're out in the field and you're conducting operations, the timeline to make those decisions is a lot shorter. And so the communication is a lot quicker, shorter, and precise. When you have longer periods of time to plan, you do the deliberate planning process, you get all the information, then you kind of get lost sometimes, lost in the sauce, right? That's what we say. You get lost in the verbiage, and there's so many other inputs that are coming at you that then you kind of struggle, and you kind of need to have a playbook on how you manage both those situations.
So what do you think the pressure is for leaders to just instantly jump in with an action? What do you think is the challenge for them?
The big thing is, I think that leaders inherently want to make decisions. And once they make that decision, there's many leaders, both in the civilian world and in the military, that stick with that decision and not really listen to the other inputs that are coming at you that you should change that decision. The caveat to that is, if you're not comfortable with the decision that you made at all, now you're going to start making multiple decisions and confusion sets in. And we see that a lot in the military when changes happen. We don't see it when we got the right information. We've listened to the people around us. We've got the right people around us, and we made that decision, and we're going forward, and everybody knows the plan, and they're just executing it 100%. And in business, I think it's the same way with leaders, is the people around you really, really have to be part of buying in on that decision. So you got to be authentic as a person. And I remember coming out of ROTC when I got my commission, and I was filled with the George Pattons of the world. And I was going to be George Patton. And my first platoon, infantry platoon, I had 30 guys, and I just was not doing well. And my platoon sergeant set me aside, and he said, "Hey, sir, look, here's the deal. When we're talking to you and we're one-on-one, that's the personality that we see, and that's what you should strive toward." And authenticity, I learned at an early age, goes a long way in decision making and the people that are following your decisions.
What do you think was the challenge for you initially, where you got that little bit of feedback? What were you thinking? You said it's 30 people. Is that right? Did I hear it right?
Yeah. So platoon leaders, and an infantry platoon is around 30 people. Privates, sergeants, and a master sergeant that's been around for 14, 15 years. And, you're just now starting out as a second lieutenant. My challenge was accepting his feedback, his honest feedback, without my ego, right? Because I've already been filled with a lot of ego. Here I am, a young 21-year-old kid that is now in command of these troops. I'm a second lieutenant. I'm in charge. I'm the man. And he's saying, "Hey, you are, but we need to see who you are, what you really are." And that throughout my career and in the civilian world with my nonprofits has served me tremendously. And I've just realized that, who you are needs to come out.
We use a phrase when we're training new managers, new leaders, that uniqueness wins. And uniqueness, really, truly, your true self of who you are, uniqueness. If you wear two different colored socks, you better bring it to the table and brag about it, because your uniqueness will stand out. We have a sales director right next door to me. We call him the Candy Man. He's 6'9", and he ducks through all of our interior doors, and he's bigger than life. But he has a 5-pound bag of candy that he brings in, and he has candy all the time. Like, this is his thing. And so I'm like, man, the uniqueness is he's Candyman, but he's 6'9". So he's towering over everybody at all meetings, all conversations. So uniqueness always wins, and you as the individual should capitalize on, not suppress. Always capitalize on your uniqueness. That's a critical piece of who we are. That's for sure.
Yeah, there's no one like us, right?
No one like us.
There's no other Jim, there's no other Lori or Perry.
Our creator was perfect in how we are designed. Perfect.
Amen.
Flawless.
Amen.
Flawless to that. And so,
we fight that sometimes. And
we try to suppress it.
Yeah.
We try to suppress it and hold it back like there's some kind of weakness to that. And the reality is it's powerful. It's strength, because that's what we were given.
Well, I love this. I love it so much. And I was giggling a little bit because in a prior episode, we talked about your ego is not your amigo.
Yeah.
So when you said ego, we talk a little bit about that and how it drives fear, and it drives you to do things that you maybe authentically shouldn't do or wouldn't do. But you're trying to protect that ego. The ego protects us, right?
Absolutely.
So what have you seen happen or shift when the leader changes that posture and actually asks for input and listens? What's the benefit you've seen there?
Well, it's buy-in, total buy-in, right? So it goes back to, there are times you can't have buy-in. So on a special forces team, you got 12 guys. When we're sitting around the team room and we're hashing out things, that input is relevant right then and there. And so they buy into that. They know that you're listening to them and you're going to take into consideration what they're saying. The other part is, and I think leaders need to do this more often, you got to get off of your plan that you had in your mind and really listen. And if someone else has a plan that's just as good or maybe needs some refinement, go with that other plan. Empower that person and then support them 110%. And it just changes the dynamics of the team. When you're constantly the one, with your plan and you're the best, people will stop buying in. I've seen it with other teams 100 times. I've seen Green Berets, best in the world, implode because their leaders don't take into account what these people are offering. And you take that to the business world. So you hired somebody for a reason. Don't stymie that. Don't suppress that. Empower that and fuel that fire. And your machine, whatever that is going to go far. And you're going to live a better human life every day when you come to work. You're going to enjoy work. I loved every second of being a Green Beret. Every second with my guys. I wouldn't trade that for the world. But that's because we bought into each other. And when it was time that Perry had to make decisions, that I made decisions. Did I really just talk in a third person? I think I did.
It's all right. Or with you.
They know why you're making the decision, and they are going to support you the same way you supported them. They're going to support me the same way I supported them. Yeah. 110%, no questions asked. And when we came back from Afghanistan, that was the one thing that all my guys bragged about when we came back, was the continuity that we had together, and the being the fighting force that we were, because we
that congruency.
Yeah.
That true alignment there. Yeah, we say in management, it's almost cheating because we kind of know the recipe. We know what works with people. And if you figure out what their uniqueness is and then you just capitalize on that for them, man, they start to rise and shine, man. And then the whole team rises and shines. And it's almost cheating because we know how to design that. We do that really intentional. It's the George Washington theory. It's the other theories beyond that. I got a guy right now, we're building into an AI expert. Oh. And I got a friend in Tampa, actually. He's Orlando. He's the AI genius. He just went to New York, did this big teaching, and I used to coach him from a business standpoint a long time ago. And now he's the authority. And because you have those moments of greatness, you just shore them up, you push them up. You're like, dude, you're amazing. And it's almost cheating because it's watching them become their very best. And then they turn around and it's reciprocal. They hold us up. When our knees get weak, they say, I always use this analogy. I hold my hands up, but they hold the knees because they're going to get weak. We're going to have weaknesses.
Right.
But if you get somebody to hold you rigid, man, you can just do unbelievable things. So yeah, that is empowering to make sure your team see who they are, see what they need, build on their stories, build on it today. And maybe it's one piece of the big plan. Maybe it's only one piece, or maybe they have a master plan and we'll refine it. But it could be both. Make sure we're helping the people on the team build their story and build their plans.
And if we're not listening, we can't.
Yeah, if
we're just worried about what we want to do, right? What's what you said, Perry, is we get so wrapped up in our opinion and our plan, and this is what we're doing, that we don't even think about them. We don't allow margin for that opportunity, right?
Right. I mean, you got to see, in the Army, we used to say, you see yourself, you see the battlefield, you see the enemy. So you see yourself, you see the environment, you see what tasks you need to complete. If you take that structure and move it over to, common speak, and when you see yourself, that brings in everybody else, because that's when you realize, okay, this is what I need to do with the people that I have around me. And then the task becomes much easier. Like you said, it's almost cheating because they're all in.
Yeah, it's amazing. And one of our next questions was, how listening builds influence. But I think we just said it. You both just covered it of how the team the influence is there organically across the team. And it's just happening and empowerment happens. And it's pretty amazing when you set aside your ego and listen.
And it is organic. I like that word. That's a good choice of words right there. Organic.
Mm-hmm. Minimize the directives and empower the plan. Minimize the directives, influence the leadership.
Perry, I'm off-roading you in just a second, but I'm so curious if you have an example or something you can share with our listeners about a situation you had to act very fast. Time was sensitive. I'm imagining you have quite a few of these, but you chose to listen in a very short period. Do you have an example you can share?
Yeah, I do actually. And it was in Afghanistan in the early days, and I had already been to combat before. I was in Panama, and then I had done other conflicts leading up to that, Somalia, the Balkans, and so. But that was different. In that where I was at now was just Djibouti and Somalia was very austere, but we really didn't have a good local connection. Here, I had a warlord who had the influence in that town of Khost, Afghanistan. And so I had to influence him to build a 900 plus man army to go out and fight Al-Qaeda, the Taliban, and Americans. People forget this. There was Americans embedded themselves to fight us in Afghanistan. Wow. And so it was a very unique environment. So go back to yourself, the environment, all that other stuff. And I remember one day he came to me and he said his soldiers had been shot at. And so we're working through I speak Arabic, but I don't speak Pashto. And I have an interpreter. And we're working through the interpreter. And so this incident happens like it's happening. We're being shot at. Oh. And so that compressed timeline the decision is, do I care that his guys are being shot at? Or do I only worry about my guys? And of course I care about his guys. We are a partner in this to defeat Al-Qaeda and the Taliban. So the split decision was made. Where are they? We're going to reinforce this, and we're going to support you in this fight. And here's how we're going to do it. And I got my guys around, my team around, scratched it out like I was on the playground playing sandlot football. How we're going to do this, how we're going to come at this. And it goes back to our earlier conversation. There was no crazy questions about it, no second thought, should we do this? Everybody was all in. They trusted me. I trusted them. I trusted what he was telling me was accurate. Mm-hmm. And I also trusted the fact that if I didn't do this, it would destroy my relationship with him. And in doing that, it would jeopardize everybody on the team because I needed him as much as he needed me. So that split-second decision to go engage the enemy at that time was very compressed. It was within minutes. And we loaded up, got our kit on, and went out to engage Al-Qaeda and the Taliban. And it was exactly how he said it. His guys, which was about, I don't know, I guess it was about 12 kilometers away, and it was almost on the Pakistan border. It's kind of a funny story, and so we started engaging them, and I didn't even call my hire to tell them what I was doing. We just went out and did it. So then again, there's that compressed timeline, right? If you got somebody higher that you need to talk to, your boss or whatever to consult with, that's a timing thing. You have that time to do that. There was no time for that.
No.
And next thing I know, we're in this 3-day fight, and my commander calls me up and says, "Hey, we've been watching this, and we think you probably should turn around now because you're in Pakistan." And I was like, "Sir, There's no lines on the ground. We're using Russian maps in Russian, working with the Taliban in Pashto, speaking English with an interpreter, and we made it happen. And that's that in a short, very, very short timeline. Now, the other thing is flip to that, the humanitarian aid. Okay, so that was the military. So when Kabul fell in 2021, August of 2021, people started reaching out, translators that I knew, American citizens that were left behind. And so I had a decision to make. Am I going to help these people? And so I did. And I created AFG Free to free our people out of there that could come home legally. And I was in front of the Senate Judiciary Committee, I don't know, January, February, and I was having this conversation with Senator Cruz, is that what we did was legal. And the reason we had to do it was because there was no avenue for our American citizens and people with visas to get out. So that's why we used our contacts and our influence, as we just discussed, to help people. And it worked. It worked in a crazy way. I raised a lot of money. I spent it all on getting people out and aircraft in to help people. And there's American citizens and families now that are here legally enjoying the fruits of America. I mean, it's the greatest nation on earth, and they wanted to be. People hung off a plane to get out of there. They knew what was coming. That's the influence we had on them as Americans when we were there.
Wow. They
bought into who we were, the type of people we were, 100%, and they wanted to be with us. And when you think about that, man, it's really hard to wrap your mind around how you don't realize the influence you have on people at the time. Years later, it comes about to fruition.
How many people are we talking about? I mean, I got it at 78 degrees in my office right now, and I got chills up and down my arms, man, just hearing what's happening here. But how many people are we talking about? How many could we get on aircraft? How'd you help them get out of there? Go deeper on that. We'll go off-road for a minute, Lori.
Yeah.
I got to hear this, man. It wasn't 2 people. I got a feeling it's a lot more.
No, it was, we personally had a touch point with over 2,000 people. And the way we did it was, I had just so happened to be contracting with the Marines. So I knew a lot of the Marines that were at the Abbey Gate, which is the gate at Kabul Airfield, HKIA, Hamid Karzai International Airfield. And so I was able to talk to them, and we would do passcodes with the family members, and they would say a passcode to the Marine, and he would know this is a legitimate person, bring him through the gate. Now, keep in mind, these soldiers, Marines, airmen, sailors, doing the Lord's work.
Wow.
They're having to sift through who's legitimate and who's not. And they did an incredible job, where I believe we failed as as leaders in this country in putting them in that position. They should have never had to do that. They should have never allowed the Taliban in their perimeter. But that's military speak. But
yeah,
the idea is that we had the contacts and connections, and then what we didn't have, we managed to get others. And I started on WhatsApp, and I went to Signal, and we grew AFG Free. People just came to us, they heard about it, and we just added people. Everybody's voice was important. Everything was important. It was 24 hours a day. and we were just diving in. Who needs help now? Where do we need to focus our efforts? And it just, and it, of course, after, the pullout, what's interesting is some Americans deliberately stayed. And there was one lady, Sarah, she stayed and was captured by the Taliban. So here's another, when we start talking about influence and connections and the people that we know and the people that trust us. So she reached out to me. I thought it was no way. You're just trying to get money from us. You didn't get captured by the Taliban. She sent me a video of her in captivity and two girls in the basement of a house with her American passport. She sent me a video of her at Kaya at Kabul airfield with her passport trying to get into the gate to get out. I didn't know her then. This is months later. This is probably 6 months later now. The two girls were from Kabul, Afghanistan, where I had invaded. She was from up north, and she was trying to help them. So I got a hold of the people that I knew that we had trained, and they went in and got her out of that building and moved her underground all the way to Pakistan. And her and those two girls were in Pakistan. And I said, okay, we can't get the girls out right now because they're not legal, but you're an American citizen. I got a plane ticket waiting for you. And she said, no, I want to stay here and work for you. I know there's other people here. And she stayed for another 9 months until she couldn't do it anymore. And she just mentally and physically was drained. But the influence we had on those people and the trust they had in us, and even the ones that didn't get out, but the ones that we trained and left behind, they were willing to put their lives on the line to get this American citizen out.
Wow. Passion and empathy. Passion and empathy, man. That's a powerful story. I'm going to come sit there in Tennessee with you, man.
Yeah.
I got to hear stories, man. It's a powerful thing. I don't even know what I'm doing right now on this show, but it's really,
I didn't mean to hijack it. I apologize.
No, I'm beyond moved. I'm beyond moved right now. It's this is a show we haven't ever done. I'm telling you, it's hitting me right in my heartstrings. It's because you don't know. You make assumptions, and the assumptions could be so far-fetched and misled by so many different influences of the media and the hype and the BS you hear versus those stories I just heard. And that was a big moving moment for me. So thank you for sharing all of that, Perry. And I don't care about the show today. It's what a learning moment for me. It's I don't know. It's moving, and I think we can just all be better. We can all do more. We none of us do enough other than self-serve in most cases. And it's how do we serve others? It's I finally got my book out as of recent. It finally just showed up, and it's Lead with Empathy, and it's I don't know. I can't send them fast enough. I can't talk about it enough. And then you hear these kind of stories, and then you just get regrounded. We're called to lead. I believe it's a calling on me. We're here to impact, but to be impacted, because we can't be better tomorrow unless we're impacted today. And that's an impact today on me. It will make me a better leader. It will make me pay attention to more people's needs other than me just trying to survive in business and beyond. That's a powerful thing today. So thank you. Thanks for the moment today.
So
thank you for grounding me again. Does that.
When I was reading about you, Perry, this is such a world I don't know anything about. So I really appreciate you sharing some of your experience with us, as Jim was saying. It's so good to hear and learn.
I like sharing them primarily because it was so unexpected in my life, right? So we don't know what that phone call that someone's asking you for help for is going to do to your life. And it just has changed my life in that, I went from a warrior to someone that is now working on the humanitarian side. And then I started another nonprofit called 18 Series Coffee Company when Ukraine hit. And the reason I did that was because I had touch points in Ukraine, and they knew that I was former military, and so they called me up and was looking for help. And so we still to this day in Russian occupied areas of Ukraine, and I've been over there a few times since the invasion. We push food to those areas because once the Russians occupy it, they shut the economy down and people are literally starving. So that's where I thought I could do the most benefit, and not on the military side, which is the strangest thing. So I thought, well, I need a different nonprofit. And I was thinking, how would I do this? And I thought, well, if I sold a bag of coffee, then I'd take those proceeds and just give it to the nonprofit, because people's, a lot of, donate and you get a blanket. Well, donate, you get a bag of coffee, and here's where it's going. And so it all started from one person reaching out. And then, as Jim just said, willing to listen and take that risk. I didn't need it in my life. I'll be honest with y'all. Things were going fine. I was doing well.
Here's what's crazy. Maybe you did.
Maybe I did. And
maybe you did. Because that's why you just got the call.
And the good Lord said, you're too comfortable.
Yep.
You need to get your butt moving, and here's what you need to do.
Yeah.
And there it is. And that's why those things happen for us and not to us.
Yes.
They literally are calling on us. Our impact needs to be heard. It needs to show up. It doesn't need to be suppressed. We're not putting it to bed. We don't get to retire because we have all these gifts, these opportunities to share with other people. We've been called and we've been given these things, and we have to give them back to the people that need them the most. That's why we're in these leadership roles. That's why you got that call, is because you were needed again, and you needed it to be called on. That's a big thing, man. That's a big, big thing. We don't get to retire. We can do less. We can call it whatever you want, but we've been gifted a lot of things. We've been called. Things have happened for us to educate us, grow us, make us bigger, give us knowledge, and give us wisdom. And those things are not to be taken to the grave. They're to be given away freely and to help others get to be their best. And if we suppress that in any way, I think we paid a price for that. We're going to be miserable. That PTSD and all those other things we all have, that's going to show up in the vengeance unless we go serve. That's the perfect healing, is to serve.
And it may not be comfortable, right? So when what you chose to do was maybe not what you want to do, or the human being like your humanity wants to do. You want to relax, or I'm speaking for myself, you want to just take it easy, but it was maybe uncomfortable to say, I'm going to kick up another nonprofit. Or maybe, it wasn't the fun thing to do, but it was the right thing to do. You stepped into.
Yeah, I think one thing the Army taught me going to being a combat diver and being special forces is you got to be comfortable being uncomfortable. And if you can do that in that environment, or whatever environment you're in, whatever you choose or whatever you've been handed, knowing that you're uncomfortable with it, find your comfort zone in that and get after it. And I think a lot of people don't want to be uncomfortable, because it's not fun, right?
Whoa, it's not fun.
But the rewards for other people, not just yourself, but the rewards for other people can be extraordinary. Extraordinary. It certainly has been rewarding in my life, because I've seen how other people have now lived through that, and the influence that all the people that were involved with this, had on folks. And it was very uncomfortable at first, very uncomfortable. I mean, it's very uncomfortable to call some guy that's that's on the gate, and he's being inundated with people to tell him, hey, I got one more family. I got one more family. I got one more family, and now you're making connections, and it's uncomfortable. Cold calls are uncomfortable. We're making cold calls out there. People are reaching out to us, cold calls. I'm sure it was uncomfortable for them too, to say that they needed that level of help. Same way with Ukraine, the Ukrainians. And it's all over the world. It's just not there. It's all over the world. And it's in business too. I mean, it goes back to the decisions that you talk about, making a quick decision on a short time frame or sometime deliberate where you have time. If you're uncomfortable making those decisions, find a way to get yourself okay with being uncomfortable and being yourself, your unique self. When you make those decisions, people will buy in on it, and amazing things will happen.
Learn the 2-step with fear.
Yeah.
Bring fear, bring it to the game, man, because I'm going to use it to drive me. The stress is going to drive me today. Fear will drive me today. I don't run from it. I run to it. Thank goodness we have firefighters that'll go straight to the fire, because if they said, hey, that's on fire, I'm going to go over here. We're in trouble.
Yeah, I always said I could never be a police officer. I could never be a firefighter.
Coming from a Green Beret, can't be a police officer.
No, I mean, I think those guys do the Lord's work too, and it's like, I just don't know every day, every single day, and you don't have that team around you. I'm a team guy. I love the process with teams and people and moving forward. I've worked independently many, many times, because you have to as a Green Beret, and it's very uncomfortable, but I got comfortable doing it.
Yeah.
But I would rather have my guys with me. Matter of fact, when I went to Iraq, my wife was like, well, your guys going with you? And I'm like, not this time. Mm-hmm. And she was uncomfortable.
Sure.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got a cousin that's a Green Beret, was a Green Beret. He's retired now. He's been many, many years. But back in, I believe it was 02 or 03, I teamed up with a group of guys, and we started doing lobbying in Washington for death benefits for our military. And so I connected with a group called MOA, Military Officers Association. Yep. And so I got to hang out in the Senate building. I got to go meet Obama before he became an idiot president. Back when he was a senator, back then, no one would not sign a new bill for the military, right? Everybody was supportive back then. And so we wrote a bill. There was 9 of us that wrote the bill, and it passed. It increased the death benefits to the military. I believe it was 03 when we did that. And I made a lot of trips to Washington to be able to do that, get that stuff done. But it was a team. And I can tell you, I had a lot of fear going to Washington. I'd never been there. I didn't know what I was to be expected. One, could I even get in? And then when I got in, Commandant of the Marine Corps brought me in the Pentagon. Second row, second level in. And he came out of a meeting, a high-level meeting, just to thank us for our time and our effort, because we're nobody. I've never been in the military. I just knew I had a cousin that was a Green Beret. His life was threatened. And then I was working at Camp Pendleton in California doing some charity stuff, giving back. And I realized that these kids could die, and their significant other gets the boot in 7 days. They can't even be on base. And so we changed that. We changed that too. Now it's 6 months before they are asked to leave, because they're no longer part of the military. They're not a government person. They can't be on an installation. And so we were able to write those bills, but it took a big team, and it took some leadership to get that done. And we had to influence all the senators. We had to literally sit in one Russell Senate building. We went door to door, banged on everyone. Can we meet with the senator? Yes, no. Senator Craig back then was one of our biggest supporters. And from Idaho. Yeah, Idaho. But he was like the biggest guy, and he got us into a lot of meetings to be able to pass some things. But it took a team. And everybody on that team was within themselves an excellent leader. And at most times they would pay close attention to the master plan, and then we would execute on the plan that was 9 deep. And that we were able to get through a lot of things in Washington, which they don't do anything in a hurry in Washington. It takes forever, and most of it's no, because everyone's scared to sign on anything. But back then we were able to do it. It took us about a year to get it all done, 4 or 5 trips to Washington. What a great piece. that I was able to even participate with these guys. And it's a cool story that I get to tell now. And I was a nobody. I was just one of the 9. But those other 8 influenced me in a big way. And they helped me connect to people to be able to help impact other people. Because I was empathetic at the time. I'm like, man, these people are going through all this pain. I don't even know these people, but they're in pain. We got to find a way to help solve these problems. And so we did what we could at the time. But it takes a team to be able to get things done sometimes. In business, in military, in Washington, good Lord, we know it takes a lot to get it done there. But it takes a team and a team of leaders in some cases.
Oh, absolutely. Totally agree. It's a great story.
Yeah, I heard you say a couple things I just want to pull back on. You said trust a lot. So I think because you trusted your team. So one, I think you listened. There's many instances where you're talking about you listened, you got information, and then you trusted the team and you move forward. I kept hearing those nuggets come through in your leadership that I think people can ground on. Is trust was a big deal for you. You trusted them. They trusted you. Yeah.
Yeah. So first of all, thank you for your efforts, Jim, on that. That's an amazing story. And there's certainly some soldiers that need help. And, we continue to try to do that. And you got to trust that sometimes the system is going to be there and sometimes it's not. And when it's not there, then you have to fix it. And that's what you did. I don't know if I'm naturally trustworthy or a trusting person, rather. I think I am trustworthy, but I'm definitely not a trusting person early on in my life. I was very skeptical because I was young. But once I realized that, at the end of the day, yeah, you can get bit. You're going to get scuffed up. We're all going to get scuffed up. You do things
100%.
good, you're going to get scuffed up. Senate judicial hearing, I got scuffed up, but I trust the system and I trust America, that it's going to work out. We're going to make the positive changes we need. And the other thing is like, if you walk around your whole life worrying about, whether you trust this person or that person, if that's your first inclination, you're going to struggle. You're already on the struggle bus now, right? So I learned I'll trust you as long as you show me. And that doesn't mean they're not going to make mistakes. It doesn't mean that that doesn't mean that, we're going to follow everything you say because we trust you. No, they're still human. They're going to make decisions. And sometimes those decisions may not be the best, but I trust that they did it for the right reasons. And that is, I think, absolutely imperative in working with people and particularly working in that environment. But certainly if you're, got millions or billions of dollars on the line, you got to trust somebody too. And if you don't, you will never effectively unite the people around you. Never. I'm guaranteed it.
Yeah. There's a phrase, the bigger the level, the bigger the devil. And it's the bigger you play and the more people you engage, the bigger the devil is. We say it's a bullseye on your back. The longer you're in business, the bigger the bullseye gets because you become the easy target to hit. And it's I can't imagine it being any different in the military side or in the private side of business. It's literally the longer you're in. I got 41 years in just a few days, or 30 days. I'll be 41 years in business. And I can tell you, the bullseye is big. And people target you regularly in business. Whether it's solicitation, threats, litigation, it's all the time. It's literally all the time. 4 or 5 attorneys on my payroll and have been for 25 years just to get through the day to day. And so it's the bigger the level, the bigger the devil. And that's gospel right there because Diablo is coming after you in many cases. Don't let it weaken us. We got to stay strong in the sight of evil coming at us. We got to be strong. We got to be stronger than what the evil is that's coming. Much like what your experiences are and what you've lived through. you had to be stronger than the evil that was coming right at you. You had to be stronger. And that was a moment of fear. That was a moment of, I don't trust what's happening, but you had to go in faith. The power of the belief that things will work out, the power of belief things are going to be okay. You just got to get the right people on the team and everything will work out. It will work out for the best, for the people we're here to serve. Man, this is a good meeting, man. I'm just thinking I'm booking a flight. I'm going to Tennessee pretty quick here.
Stop by and say hi. Yeah. So we are getting close on time. So I wonder, Perry, just one last question for you. What tip or quick nugget could leaders take away to be better listeners? Like what kind of habit or thing could they take away that you would recommend?
I think the big thing is for listening, most leaders are worried about failing. And so when you're overly concerned with failing, you are not going to listen to other advice because you're going to really rely on yourself now.
So good.
And so I read this thing sometime where in business, if you fail fast and then recover. Yep. In the military, it's not like that. I mean, we don't have room to failure. We only have room to improve because failure is catastrophic. So I had to learn that in the business world, particularly with the nonprofits. Everything wasn't successful right out the gate. Things still are not successful at times, but I'm not afraid of that not being successful. I'm not afraid of that particular failure. I'm comfortable being uncomfortable so I can listen to others that have better advice for me. And I do seek out a lot more advice from people now than I ever have. And I actively listen, and then I try to execute what I heard. So that's the other big thing is we can sit and have conversations all day, but if you don't operationalize that conversation, then you really are doing a disservice to the person whose time you took to try to figure out your way ahead. And that's where I think the listening part comes in. And, I think in Matthew it says, you hear, but you don't listen. And it's kind of true. I mean, even back then, you have to be comfortable with that, someone else's opinion. If you're not comfortable with that, you're not going to listen. If you've already made your decision, which is a really big thing, particularly in the military, you've already made a decision. I'm just going through the motions. You're not listening. You're not looking for a better way ahead. You're not looking for an alternative, or you're not taking in something that may influence that decision positively later.
Right.
May not now, but later. But because you listened, later you remembered it. And you're now employing it. You're operationalizing it. And that's a wonderful thing. That's a beautiful thing to happen in life. My wife does it for me all the time. She don't listen right away, but eventually.
I've been married 41 years. So we were married 6 months before I started my company. I don't know why she ever stayed, because building a business is incredibly difficult. And so we're coming up, February will be 42 years, which is beyond my belief. Other than this gray hair, it's starting to show that I got a lot of years in the game here. But yeah, we're coming up on 42 years, and I'm not sure she hears everything I have to say, and I'm pretty confident I don't hear everything she has to say. But somewhere in the middle, there's a meeting, and we can have a pizza and a sit down dinner once a week and get back together and figure things out sometimes.
And that's a great point, because if you can do that in business, then it translates well into your personal relationships, which is even that much more important. Especially in today's world of all the stimulus we have and the time that we spend not with each other anymore, the listening becomes even more important, as Lori was asking about, with each other, as just sharing our life together. Just this podcast, just sharing our stories and listening to what has transpired in y'all's lives is incredibly meaningful. It's enriching.
Yeah. It's all an education, all a growth opportunity, man. It is. It's all we can do is listen better, make decisions based on what we know, process the content for the pieces we need, and throw out the things we don't. But that's all decision based.
Mm-hmm. Use
Absolutely.
your strengths to serve and be uncomfortable.
That's
Go
right.
Uncomfortable.
Perry, it was so
Awesome.
wonderful to have you today. Thank you so much for your service. And this conversation's been a blessing.
Thank you guys for the time and energy that was put into getting me here, and the efforts of people that aren't even on here right now. It's just, again, the team put it together, and we had I think a pretty enriching conversation, and I appreciate listening to y'all's stories as well.
Yeah. Yeah, super grateful for you, Perry. Great meeting you. I love the stories. It was a humbling day today for me. And I'm telling you, I could care less we called it a podcast or anything else. Today was a really moving day for me. And I'm not easily moved. But when I get to these kind of stories, it is moving. There's people in the world like you that do what you did and had to do. And there's some of us just leading businesses, and we think we matter sometimes, and sometimes we do, and sometimes no one cares. Other times it's super important for us to be present. Thank the Lord above that there's guys like you that can serve at that level and then serve today at a very humble level in just sharing stories in the most meek way. So thank you. It was my pleasure, my honor to meet you today, Perry.